Ekadashi. Today's Ekadashi, Friday, the 10th of January 2025. So welcome to our live stream today on the subject matter of Raya Ramananda Samvada. So we'll have a small kirtan, and then we'll begin. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banacharya Tira Banacharya Yamuna Tira Banacharya Yamuna Tira Banacharya O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, 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 Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura. Oh Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhabhaya Girihari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Varantacharya Ki Jai Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bharata Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Arupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamayam Dadati Swam Pradantikam Priya Swarupe, Daita Swarupe, Prema Swarupe, Sahaja Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunabhartino Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundaratu Tikatam Basatipita, Sada Hridare Kandare Spadatu Vasachinandanaha. Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshmi Shiptascha Karma Ditarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarabindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvayevina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of our dear master Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Pada Ki Jai. And I'm offering my dandavats to all our Rupanuka Guru Varga and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhabhevacha Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the sound is okay on YouTube? Can you check your phone? Because it was off before. Just check your phone that you're getting sound on YouTube. Go into YouTube and see if the sound is coming. I think it's coming now. So we've reached Prema Bhakti. We've come through, first of all, Vanashram. Then we upgraded to Nishkarma Karma Yoga. Oh, I'm already being spoken here. It's good sound. Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, yes, then we went to Nishkarma Karma Yoga, then we went to Sharanagati. And we understood that Sharanagati is not the principal function of the soul. And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj has given a very nice example of this that I've said many times, that Sharanagati is likened to getting dressed. Every day we have to get dressed just to perform our activities on the streets. We have to get dressed to go anywhere, to do anything. But it's not the purpose of life to get dressed. It's automatically must be there. Similarly, Sharanagati must be there to continue our progressive unfoldment of our sadhana bhakti, aiming at bhav bhakti. So Sharanagati must be there, but it's not the topmost at all. It's the initial stage, actually. And then we came to Gyan Mishra Bhakti. So in Gyan Mishra Bhakti, I meant to say this at the time, but I forgot. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada quotes I want to quote from him. He says something very nice here. Lord Chaitanya wants the living entity to be free from every type of material consciousness. So these are 4 types of material consciousness. Varnashram, Nishkarma Karma, Sharanagati, and Gyan Mishra Bhakti. 4 types of material consciousness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants the living entity to be free from every type of material consciousness, including becoming unconcerned with empiric knowledge. That's Gyan Mishra Bhakti. And fruitive activities. That's Karmakand. One should stay in pure consciousness, as even a slight tinge of material consciousness causes an impersonal conception of the absolute truth. The very second we start to deviate, immediately it's indicative of our not appreciating the absolute nature of the Supreme Lord. Isn't it? As soon as we deviate, it means we don't really have full faith that Krishna's a person and he's right there. Just like we are people and we are right here. Why should we think Krishna any less than that? But if we deviate from this path, then we start to think that Krishna's not really there. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he says very beautifully, he says, whenever the sense of enjoying or enjoyment arises in the heart of the jiva, we should know that humility is far away. If we're enjoying something here in this realm, that means humility is far away. So this is just an example. And then he goes on to say, if a convalescent, this is Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada speaking, if a convalescent person is not properly taken care of, a relapse of the disease may mar the whole attempt of recovery. He also says in the Brahmabhuta liberated stage, one has not yet obtained a resting place at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. As such, one is still unsupported and thus runs the chance of falling down again into material activities. So these stages we've been through are imperative that we catch them up and make progress in these stages, not neglect them, not think, oh, this is not about prema bhakti or trying to go higher and higher when we haven't really built our solid foundation. As such, one is still unsupported and thus runs the chance of falling down again into material activities. It is therefore also external, and thus the 4th suggestion of Ramananda Roy was rejected by Lord Chaitanya. So that's Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada just making us understand the necessity of Mahaprabhu's mercy in going through these stages. So then we come to Gyan Shunya Bhakti. This is what we discussed yesterday. And Mahaprabhu, he accepts this. This is bhakti beyond Gyan. And the beautiful verse that my Gurudev often chants in this regard, Gyan Prayasam Udabhasya Namanta Eva. This verse from Bhagavatam 10:14, Lord Brahma is saying like this. So Mahaprabhu accepted this, but he wanted more. He wanted to go higher. So now we've come to page 63, Prema Bhakti, the stage of Prema Bhakti. And now we're going to progressively, this is like we're crossing over this Viraja river, and we're coming into a transcendental realm now. So all of these topics, especially when it gets into the different rasas, they're across the Viraja river. We've left these sudden bhajan behind, and we're approaching Bhav Bhakti here. This chapter of Prema Bhakti will be describing the nature of Bhav Bhakti, which is in the 22nd chapter of Jayavadama. So we'll chant this Prema Bhakti verse.
868. Prabhu kahe eho hai age kahahar Rai kahe prema bhakti sarva sadhya sar.
Sriman Mahaprabhu said, O Ramananda, this may be called the Sadhya, Gyan Shunya Bhakti, may be called the Sadhya. But please speak something more. Sriman Ramananda Roy said, Prema Bhakti is the essence of all perfection. So appreciate every single time he's saying this is the essence of all perfection. It is the essence of all perfection, yet still we can go beyond that. In itself, it's the essence of all perfection for someone at that stage. But there is progression. Actually, this spiritual path is unlimited. This ocean of ras is fathomless. You can't reach the bottom of it. That's the nature of it. Everything in the material world is limited. But in contrast, everything in the spiritual world is unlimited. So this perfection is a stage, this Prema Bhakti. Up until now, Sriman Mahaprabhu had only responded to all proposals with Eho Bhaya. This is external. Bhaya, Bahiranga. We know this word, Bahiranga and Antaranga. So Bhaya, Eho Bhaya. This is external. But now he says, Eho Haya. This may be. In other words, this is okay. We've accepted this. When Gyan Shunya Bhakti was proposed, he said, this is good, because whatever Sri Ramananda Roy had explained before had not been conducive for the progressive understanding of a master-servant relationship. It's relationship. We said the last thing we said yesterday, everything is founded on this conception of love and affection. Love has to be, it's a verb, to love. There has to be a subject and an object, right? So what is the subject and what is the object? If it's just Shantaras, if it's just me, like in Sharanagat, for example, I am surrendering. I am thinking about my surrender. Anakulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, etc. I'm performing all these acts of Sharanagat myself, but I'm not exclusively focusing on the pleasure of the Lord by that. You understand? These are very subtle distinctions that are being brought out here. He said, this is good, but because whatever Sri Ramananda Roy had explained before had not been conducive for the progressive understanding of the master-servant relationship. The master-servant relationship, Krishna and the Jiva. However, this Gyan Shunya Bhakti is favorable for its development. With Gyan Shunya Bhakti, there can be this master and servant relation. It's not like just Gyan, like empiric Gyan, like the Gyani. Not the Gyani Bhakta, but the Gyani. The Gyani Bhakta is different to the Gyani. The Gyani is focusing on the Brahman, but the Gyani Bhakta understands with knowledge the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. I've described that before, like Bhishma Dev was a Gyani Bhakta. Prahlad Maharaj is a Gyani Bhakta. Jad Bharat is like a Jnani Bhakta. They are focusing on the opulence of the Lord. The Gyan in that sense is to know the opulence, the opulent feature of the Lord. Eclipses their sweetness. It restricts their ability to have a more intimate relationship. Mahaprabhu's request for him to speak further. But by the way, if you're in that rasa, for example, like Uddhav, if you are a Jnani Bhakta, like Bhishma Dev, that is the highest estimation conceivable in your consciousness, because that will be your staibhav. And you don't want anything beyond that. So don't think that person who is in that rasa is being restricted in any way. Just like now we're going to progressively go through all the different rasas. It's not like if you're in Dasya Ras and you've heard that Madhurya Ras is the highest, oh, I want to change, I want to go to Madhurya Ras. No, you're completely self-satisfied in that, like Mother Yashoda. She's in Vatsalya Ras, fully absorbed. She doesn't want to go anywhere else other than that. She has no inclination. Even if she's hearing, this is such a higher taste. No. For her, this, my Lala Krishna, this is the highest taste in existence. The same with the Jnani Bhakta. Uddhav would never want to change his staibhav, even though he went to Vrindavan and witnessed the height of the gopis' prem. He was just happy to honor their prem. But he didn't want that for himself. He wanted to be a bush to get the mercy of those gopis. But he didn't want to become a gopi. He didn't want to change that. So understand this clearly. It's not a, what do you call it, upward progression. It's called Vaishishtya. It's a speciality within each of these rasas. It's not a question about moving from one to the next. You have a staibhav, that's fixed. We'll discuss this in this chapter. Mahaprabhu's request for him to speak further on this point reveals that Ramananda Rai had now reached the correct path, but should proceed further. From the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-3, this is Jnane-sam, Raya-sam, this verse we just said, which Ramananda Rai spoke to illuminate Gyan Shunya Bhakti, one may comprehend that practicing Gyan Shunya Bhakti and hearing Harikatha is so powerful that Bhagavan becomes controlled by the sadhak who does so. Bhagavan will come under that control. The Shruti also confirms that Bhagavan is controlled by Bhakti. Bhakti Vasa Purushaha. Yet the degree to which he is controlled is gradated. Understand, this is the subtlety. It's not that Krishna is controlled in the same way by all the different rasas. The way he is controlled by the gopis is not the same way that he is controlled by that Shunya Bhakti personality. It's not the same. It's not the same entirely. Just like yesterday, the last thing we discussed yesterday, it's very interesting. I hope you all appreciate it strongly. It says each person's bhakti and their practices of the limbs of bhakti are unique. This was the last thing we read yesterday. So understanding this point, so how can this idea of being controlled be the same for everybody? So Gurudev says very clearly here, it is also gradated. He is not controlled equally by all the bhaktas. These are subtle points. It's not like just saying blanket statements. There's all these subtleties within. Sadhaks engage in devotional services according to their individual tastes and desires, same things again. And thus they control Krishna to the degree of their devotion. They may even be performing the same limb of bhakti as each other, but due to the sadhak's individual natures, there will be differences in their practice, so they will not control Bhagavan to the same degree. Essentially, this means that to the degree of intensity with which a devotee desires to perform service, Bhagavan is then accordingly inclined to manifest his quality of being controlled by him. It is for this reason that the devotees of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Kantabhav means Madhurya, do not each control Bhagavan to the same extent. In other words, it's also immensely personal. This is reinforcing the absolute personal conception. It's not all one. It's all entirely variegated and personal. There is another point to consider. Is Bhagavan controlled simply by hearing the Harikatha that comes from the mouth of his devotees? Or is Bhagavan controlled by a listener who attains some special state on hearing Harikatha? It is with the intention of clarifying this that Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to speak a little further on the subject. We know the story, and I've sent it on the link a couple of days ago, of the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya, the story of Gokarna. When Gokarna was speaking the Bhagavatam, his brother, Dundukari, the ghost, was listening with absolute fierce, rapt attention, because he was in the body of a ghost. Desperate attention. And at the end of each day, it's a sapta class. What do you call it? Saptaha. So with each day, one of these knots in the bamboo rod would pop. And this was, Dundukari was inside that rod. And each pop was showing that he was getting liberated from this material conception, from his ghostly body. And at the end, a Vaikuntha plane came and picked up only Dundukari. And Gokarna, he says to the Vaikuntha-vasis, to those personalities in the plane, well, we all heard the Bhagavatam too, why don't we go back as well? And they responded, because you didn't hear it with the same desperation and greed as Dundukari was hearing it. So the listener and his quality of hearing is going to be different. In all cases, we're not all going to hear the same. There's an expression in English. Some, when you read the newspaper, for example, some can see the black part and some can see the white part. Some see black and some see white, so you can see either. Everything we hear is unique. This reinforces the personal conception. That's why it's being spoken of. I know in society today, in schools, in educational centers, etc., they are trying to sandwich everyone into the one box. There's schools like the Montessori school, for example, which gives them liberation from those boxes. But there are most educational institutions want to shove everyone to the same place, because then the governments control everyone easily. That's the demonic world that we live in. So the listener controls Bhagavan just by listening to the narrations of Bhagavan's pastime. This is fine, but this takes place only when the hearer of Harikatha is situated in the stage of prem. We are talking now about prem. So prema bhakti, devotion endowed with the characteristics of divine love. Divine love, we said love is the verb, to love, an object. It's not impersonal. That proclivity to render such service is to give excessive happiness to Krishna is called prem. The gopis are always immersed in the thought of how to satisfy Krishna's calm, how to satisfy Krishna's desires. That's all they're thinking about, because they're all the Kaya Vyuha of Sri Radhika. And Sri Radhika is only immersed in this thought of how to satisfy Krishna. Nothing else is in her mind. So the gopis are the same. They have that same seed. Through the performance of hearing and chanting performed in the stage of Gyan Shunya Bhakti, by the mercy of Bhagavan, the contamination of the heart is gradually dispelled. Thereafter, knowledge of the servant's relationship with the Lord, as well as the tendency to serve Sri Krishna, both the tendency to serve and the actuality of serving, should manifest in the heart. Because we can imagine, like when we read Brihat Bhagavatamrita, and Gopkumar, he comes to that planet of the Kumaras, and they say, no, you can just meditate on Krishna in the heart. He is situated in the heart. Gopkumar wasn't satisfied with that. He wanted to see Krishna and to directly render service. So we're trying to increase this pure desire of Shuddha Bhakti. Thereafter, knowledge of the servant's relationship with the Lord, as well as the tendency to serve Sri Krishna, manifest in the heart. Then, by the mercy of the Swarup Shakti, it must be the mercy of the Swarup Shakti, Sri Radha, the essence of the Hladini and Sangvit Shakti, Krishna's transcendental bliss and knowledge potencies, enters the heart of the sadhak. It starts in the mental quantum, the Sangvit Shakti, knowledge, and then it, as we said before, comes into the heart region of realization, Vigyan, mixes with the Hladini Shakti, and then it becomes fully realized. Without that bliss from the Hladini, it's not fully realized. The fully ripened or mature stage of Shuddha-sattva is called Prem. This devotional service to Sri Krishna, which is filled with pure love, is known as Prema Bhakti. Bhagavad Katha is both our sadhya and our sadhan. It's the goal to hear about Krishna, and it's our practice to listen to Harikatha. Similarly, so is Prema Bhakti. If there is prem within the heart of the sadhak, then he will perform all the limbs of bhakti with deep love, and Sri Krishna is pleased with him. Without prem, the sadhak may perform bhakti, but that bhakti will never satisfy Krishna. So there are different stages of bhakti that we've described. There's the bhakti that is within Varnashram. There is bhakti in Varnashram, but it's not Shuddha. And also Nishkam karma is also under the heading of bhakti, but it's not pure. There's impurities there because it's on the bodily platform. Still, because it's in process, it can be called bhakti, just like Aropa Siddha Bhakti or Sangha Siddha Bhakti. They're not pure, but they're in process. Without prem, the sadhak may perform bhakti, but that bhakti will never satisfy Sri Krishna. For a person who is hungry, even dry bread seems most appealing. But if someone is neither hungry nor thirsty, then he can easily ignore a delicious feast, replete with the 6 types of tastes: salty, sweet, pungent, bitter, sour, and astringent. Controlled by the prem of Vidura, Sri Krishna ate even banana skins. You remember the pastime. Yet because Duryodhana had no prem, Sri Krishna abstained from a huge feast composed of all 6 tastes served by him. Sri Krishna ate the rice and yogurt offered with prem by the wives of the Brahmanas. Sri Ramachandra ate the remnant fruits of Sabari, the low-caste lady dwelling in the forest, Shabari. How do you say that? Shabari, yes, Shabari. And Sriman Mahaprabhu consumed vegetables snatched from the devotee, Sridhar called a vegetable. He would snatch the vegetables from his selling place. Bhagavan, hungry to eat whatever a premi bhakta offers him, very lovingly and enthusiastically accepts foodstuffs presented with prem. Just like the cowherd boys, they would offer what they had already eaten to Krishna. And the Devas, especially Lord Brahma, they were astonished. They were thinking Krishna will only accept what's been offered in the yajna. But Krishna was accepting this because it was offered with such love. So understand the same principle all the way through. If we're thinking of this, this will all be very simple to understand. Although Sri Lakshmi resided eternally on the chest of Sriman Narayan, she identifies as being the wife of a Brahmana. Proud of this designation, her serving attitude was slackened, and she was thus precluded from entering the pastimes of Braj. When one has knowledge of the relationship between the master, savior, and servant, sevak, the tendency or desire to render service transforms into prem, and the premi bhakta chants the holy name, maintaining a vow to chant a fixed number of names daily. The devotee engages in sadhan bhajan, absorbed in the moods expressed in these songs. Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamuna Tira. A bower on the bank of Radhakund, as well as Govardhan Hill and the banks of Yamuna River, all these places are my life and soul. He Radhe Braja Devi Ke Jalalite, He Nanda Suno Kota, Shri Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patale, Kalindivane Kuta. O Radha, mistress of Vrindavan, O Lalita, O son of Nanda Maharaj, where are all of you now? Are you seated beneath the Kalpa-vriksha trees, desire trees of Sri Govardhan Hill, or are you roaming in the forests along the soft sandy banks of the Jamuna? So, by regularly chanting these bhajans, this is described as sadhan. This is invoking the pleasure of the Lord and certainly Guru. A devotee who performs sadhan bhajan in this way very much pleases Bhagavan, who becomes restless to taste even his ordinary offerings. In order to taste prem, he will dance for a cup of buttermilk. So this is the personal nature, Guruji, of Krishna.
869. Nanopachara krita pujanam arthabandho premnaiva bhakta hridayam sukha vidrutam syat yavat shud asti jatare jarata pipasa tavat sukhaya bhavato nanu bhakshapeye.
This is from Padyavali by Rupa Goswami, number 13. As long as one feels acute hunger and thirst, one enjoys eating and drinking. In the same way, even if one worships Artha Bandhu, Bhagavan, the Lord who is the friend of the distressed, with many different types of paraphernalia, only when the puja is performed with prem will the devotee's heart melt with happiness. So this is describing actually bhav bhakti. This is the symptom of bhav bhakti. The essential meaning is that if very strong hunger and thirst are not present, then even if one is offered very tasty, fragrant, and appetizing dishes, one will still not have a desire to eat. Likewise, if there is no prem, then even if one worships Sri Krishna with many, many different articles, still he will not be pleased. There's the pastime of when all the devas, they came to worship Krishna after lifting Govardhan Hill. Lord Indra came with Surabhi Devi, Surabhi cow, to appease Krishna. And all the demigods appeared because they'd all taken part in this horrific act of trying to drown out the residents of Braj. And they were all offering puja to Krishna. They had 1,000-wick lamps, they had beautiful chamaras and conches, etc. The parijat flowers were being offered. Beautiful articles were being offered, and Krishna was just sitting on a rock, quite bored, actually. And then the cowherd boys were coming along the lower road, and they saw the devas on top of the hill. And Madhumangal, who's the Brahmin boy, oh, these are demigods. But the devas were thinking, oh, this is going to be rasa bas. If the cowherd boys come, this is not going to be pleasing to Krishna. So they jumped behind the clouds, and they left all their paraphernalia there. Then when the cowherd boys came up to where Krishna was on the top of Govardhan Hill, then they picked up these articles that the devas had left behind and began play acting and performing the puja to Krishna. And Krishna was so happy. He was laughing, clapping his hands, joking, and the devas were red-faced, embarrassed, thinking Krishna was looking really bored when we were doing this. So you see the distinction between what is done with love and affection and what is done out of duty, or just, because, yes, out of duty. Vaidhi Bhakti is dutiful, which has its place if it's focused on Bhav Bhakti. If we're doing that Vaidhi Bhakti daily, but we're also intending to transform that into Bhav Bhakti. That's our focus. We're still doing the Vaidhi Bhakti. We're all following the Ekadashi. We're attending the Mangalati. We're doing all the different limbs of Bhakti according to the strictures, etc., the regulations, but we have the intention of Bhava Bhakti. That's the difference. The essential meaning is that if, oh, I didn't read all that. Where am I up to? Do you remember?
Similarly,
If prema is present in a devotee's heart, Krishna receives great happiness by accepting even ordinary items the devotee gives him. Some people may doubt that the example and the idea being clarified actually correspond, because in the example it says that only if a person is hungry and thirsty can taking simple rice and water give him happiness. Yet in the idea being clarified, it says that Bhagavan indeed feels hungry upon being given anything with prema. Thus the doubt may come in the mind that if the devotee is hungry to serve, then how does this make Bhagavan hungry? Yet such a doubt is unfounded. So there's a footnote I'm going to read here. Here in this case, Raya Ramananda is explaining that when the devotee has prema and yearns for Krishna to accept his offering, then the love in the devotee causes a hunger and thirst in Krishna. This is the explanation. The devotee's affection creates in Krishna a hunger and thirst to accept the offering. The offering itself may consist of ordinary items, but still Krishna comes. With great relish, he tastes what the devotee has offered. Why? It is because the prema in the heart of the devotee has created a great hunger in him. We know the story of, what's his name? The son of Mukunda Shekhar, Raghunandan. Raghunandan was asked by his father, small boy, 7 years old, to do the offering while his father had to go to work. And he was offering the bhoga, and Krishna was not coming to take it. And the boy started crying piteously. Why are you not coming to take? Just because I'm a small boy? You have to come and take. So Madan Mohan came off the altar and took all the bhoga. And then Raghunananda took the plate outside. His mother said, where's all the offering? And the boy said, well, Krishna ate it. You told me to give the food to Krishna. Krishna ate it. Mother was astonished. She couldn't understand. She told her husband when he came back, Mukunda Shekhar. And the next day, father asked the son to do the offering again. He wanted to see what was happening. So he hid behind a curtain. And again the boy came in front. This time the Thakurji, Gopinath is the Thakurji, was not responding because he knew, of course, that the father was hiding there. But the boy was crying so piteously that that Gopinath came out from his altar and again picked up a laddu and took a bite of it. And then his father revealed himself just in absolute ecstasy, was astonished at the prema of this little boy. So this little boy's prema will control Krishna. And there's a deity there. In Kardaha, you can go and you can see that same deity of Gopinath with a half-eaten laddu in his hand. This is Raghunandan. So these are examples in Shastra describing this. So this is the example of this hunger within the sadhak is going to be reciprocated in Krishna. Whatever the hunger that the sadhak, yeyatamam prabhadyante tam stataiva brajamye, Krishna will reciprocate as according to the devotee's desire. That's simple. We can thus see that since Bhagavan lovingly accepts a devotee's service according to the degree of strong love that he has for Bhagavan, that such a doubt has no basis. If prema is not present in the heart of the devotee, then the desire to accept service cannot possibly awaken in the heart of Bhagavan. As I said, this prema that we're talking about is the prema prior to full-blown prema. This is the stage of bhav. If bhav bhakti is there, Krishna will reciprocate. If prema, once prema awakens in the heart of the devotee and reaches the stage of extreme eagerness and longing to serve, then the desire to accept service awakens in the heart of Bhaktavatsal Bhagavan. the Lord who is always affectionate to the devotee. It's completely reciprocal. It's the same dynamic we've said all the time, that love is a two-way street, so to speak. There's subject and object, the verb, to love, must be there. That is why here Bhagavan is called Arthabandhu, friend of the distressed. With regard to the object of sadhana, Sri Rupa Goswami has said,
Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana bida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam hridi sadhyata.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 122. Sadhana bhakti is the engagement of the mind and senses in the limbs of bhakti for the purpose of attaining bhav bhakti. Bhav bhakti is that stage prior to prem. What's that? What's that verse? Describing Visheshatma. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Surivam Samyabhak. Is that right? Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Surivam Samyabhak. Ruchibis Chita Vishnu Shud Ashu Bhav Uchyate. That this Bhav is like the ray of Prem. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma.
Premankur.
No, not yet. It's bhav. It is an ankur. It is the sprout. Yes, but that's not what that verse was saying. Shuddha sattva visheshatma prem suryavam samyabhak. Ruchibis chicham rishnu shud ashu bhav uchyate. Bhav uchyate. This is the ray of the sun of prem, the beginning. This bhav is a potentiality which eternally exists in the heart of the jiva and is manifested in the heart, purified by sadhan, through the mercy of a Nitya Siddha, a living Sad Guru. So we also have the verse Nitya Siddha, what's that? Nitya Siddha, Kabunai, Nitya Siddha, what's that verse? Nitya Siddha, my verses are running away from me. Ekadashi today, not coming immediately. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai. Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitta, Korya Uday. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai. Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitta, Korya Uday. This is saying the same thing. That this Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Nitya, eternal, Siddha, perfect. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai. This verse is saying that it cannot be obtained by sadhan, but through our practice of sadhan, Guru's mercy will manifest, and by his mercy, this Nitya Siddha Prem will manifest in the Shuddha Chitta of that verse I just said, which has the same context as the verse we're reading now. That this potentiality, prakatyam hridi, hridi means heart, prakatam hridi sadhyate, that the heart purified by sadhan. So sadhan itself is not going to give the goal, but sadhan is going to purify the heart to invoke Guru's mercy, to come to the point of Sharanagata. Pure devotion is the ever-present, eternal, constitutional position of the jiva. It's eternal, eternally residing in the heart. Nitya siddhyasya bhavasya. The living being is a tiny particle of blissful consciousness, likened to a spark of sunshine, chitkara, of the all-blissful spiritual sun, Chit Surya, Sri Krishna. This naturally occurring happiness is known as Nitya Siddha Bhav, eternally present love for Krishna, and it is awakened in the heart of the jiva by the practice of sadhan bhakti. We have to perform this sadhan to attain the mercy of Guru, to wake up this potentiality which is already in the heart. In this stage, the eternally perfect object namely the potency of pure love for Godhead, reaches its perfection, just like the fire in wood. The fire is eternally in any piece of wood you look at, but it cannot be ignited until another piece of wood on fire will touch it. So similarly, we must purify ourselves to invoke the mercy of Guru, to ignite that potentiality of the fire within our hearts. Understand? It's a science. When the bound jivas, endeavoring by their senses, strive to attain bhav, their practice is called sadhan bhakti. This is all we have. We have our, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we only have the mind. The mind is the only tool that we have to access transcendence. That's what we have. We have the tool of the mind to access this transcendence. But the mind itself is material. So it's not entirely by the mind that we're going to reach transcendence, but the purification of the mind by sadhana. That is going to soften the heart. This mishrinyu, we said in this verse, Sudasattva Visheshatma, Prem Suryavak Samyava, Ruchibis Marshinya. This is softening the heart. The goal of sadhan bhakti is to awaken bhav bhakti. How many times have we heard that expression from my Gurudev? He says it repeatedly. Prema bhakti, sadhan bhakti, bhav bhakti, prema bhakti. At the time of initiation or diksha, the Holy Master instructs the sadhak on his relationship with Sri Bhagavan. Jivara Sarup Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. That's the first understanding of our relationship. We're an eternal servant of Krishna. Fixed in this relationship, the devotee performs sadhana with firm determination, and thus he achieves bhav bhakti. When this bhav bhakti reaches a completely ripened condition, it is known as prema bhakti. The sadhak bhakta becomes extremely blessed when Sri Guru bestows realization of his position as a maidservant of Sri Radhika. Now we've just jumped from beyond Jivara Sarup Hoy, Krishna, just being a servant of God, but what type of servant of God? So if the realization is given that our sthai bhav is that of a maidservant of Sri Radhika, then we can fully embrace this conception of Radha Dasya, but not until that time. Only by the devotion of his devotees does Sri Krishna's love swell. The term sadhan bhakti includes all the progressive stages of bhakti: shraddha, faith, sadhu sangha, association with pure devotees, bhajana, anushtana, performance of devotional service to Krishna, anartha nivritti, the diminishing of all unwanted habits, nishta, firm faith, ruchi, taste, and asakti, attachment. So these are all very important stages. But this next verse is pivotal. Okay.
870. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita matihi kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti sukrutaya na labhyate.
So this is from the Padyavali also by Rupa Goswami. O men of virtue, if consciousness that is saturated and perfumed with the nectar of Krishna Bhakti is available anywhere, then purchase it at once without delay. The only price to get it is greed to obtain Brajaras, the moods of Braj. Without this divine greed, then even heaps of spiritual credits, Sukriti, accumulated over millions of lives, will not be enough to procure that bhakti for Sri Krishna. It's saying the same that we've been talking about practically from the beginning, and Mahaprabhu has been demonstrating himself through his own enthusiasm, this greed, this lobha. And if it's anywhere, we should give anything to obtain that. Utsaha, this greed. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that this type of devotion, where the heart is soaked in Krishna Bhakti Ras, the nectar of loving service to Krishna, has only one price, and that price is greed. if you listen to my Gurudev's lectures on Vilap Kusumanjali, you can hear he's constantly saying this greed has to be awoken. Bhakti is of two types. The first is Shastra Avadharana Mayi Vaidhi Bhakti, the path of bhakti inspired by the governing principles of the scriptures, Vaidhi Bhakti. And the second is Lobha Mulaka Raganuga Bhakti, devotion impelled by greed to follow the loving sentiments of the eternally perfected residents of Braj. Here, Sri Ramananda Rai is alluding solely to the second type of devotion, namely Lobha Mulaka Raganuga Bhakti. Sri Chakravarti Thakur tells us that the only method to give happiness to Sri Krishna is Krishna Bhakti Bhavita Mati, to have a consciousness infused with the flavors of loving service to him. A fortunate person may enter this Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotion. In this case, Sri Krishna means Brajendra Nandan, Sri Krishna, the son of the king of Braj. The Bhakti signifies Bhav Bhakti, the initial stage of perfection in devotion, which matures into Prema Bhakti. The phrase Prema Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati refers to that person whose every pore is utterly saturated with Sri Krishna Bhakti Ras, and whose intelligence has become one with that of Bhakti Ras. And there's a footnote here, it says Bhakti Ras, attachment to Sri Krishna in the mood and manner of those eternally perfected devotees, particularly the Brijbasis. This mood may only be attained by the mercy of Bhagavan. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it has been said,
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajjoshanad asapavarga vartmani shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishyati.
This is from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev speaking to his mother Devahuti, chapter 25, verse 25. In the assembly of pure devotees, powerful discussions illuminating my heroic deeds become a rejuvenating tonic for both the ears and the heart. By hearing these narrations, one quickly advances on the path of emancipation from ignorance. First he develops Shraddha, then Rati, and finally Prema Bhakti. We take all sorts of material supplements for our body, but the real supplement is this Rasayan, this tonic of the powerful pastimes of Krishna. This Bhakti Bhav is received by two methods, by the mercy of the devotee, Bhakta Prasadaja, and by the mercy of Bhagavan, Bhagavat Prasadaja. The mercy of Bhagavan strictly follows the mercy of the devotee. This is the very reason why Swayam Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, descended in the form of the topmost devotee, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and poured his mercy everywhere. Sri Narottam Thakur has prayed to Sri Lokanath Goswami,
Kabe Lokanath more sange laya jabe Sri Rupera Pada Padme Mura Samarpibe.
O Gurudev, when will you bestow upon me your mercy and offer me to the feet of Sri Rupa Goswami? In the same manner, we see Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj praying at the end of almost every chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Sri Rupa Raghunatha Padeyaraj Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das.
Always praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, for your mercy, I, Krishnadas Kaviraj, recite this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhagavan can give bhakti, but not a mood of service to him. He can give the bhakti, but the seva has to come from us. It's a two-way street. Love. Along with bhakti, the devotee can also give his own bhav and his own personal realizations. By accepting these bhavs or moods, it no longer remains difficult for one to attain bhakti. In the same way that sugar syrup permeates every atom of a rasgulla, Similarly, every pore of the body of a Brajaras Rasik Guru or Vaishnava is completely saturated with Prema Bhakti Ras. At every moment, the Rasik Vaishnava continuously distributes the most purifying sweet discussions of Sri Radha Krishna's pastimes. His mind, intelligence, affection, and character are all completely filled with Sri Krishna's Rasamoy Bhakti, ambrosial devotion. By associating with these Rasik devotees, greed is awakened to serve Sri Krishna with prem. If due to that greed, one has to give up his very life, Bhagavan will indeed become dearer to him than his own existence. So life and death, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sri Ramesh say, die to live. Doesn't matter for the body if Krishna is pleased. We all possess this prem rasa in our hearts. We've just gone through that. Kriti Satya Bhavat Sadhya Bhavsa Sadhanabhida Nitya Siddhyasya Bhavasya. This Nitya Siddha is residing in the heart. But now it is dormant, Prakritamiti Satyate, in potential. It is by hearing discussions saturated with Bhakti Ras that this prem will be awakened. The devotee hears Bhakti Shastras, devotional scriptures, and cultivates his Krishna consciousness by following the instructions given in them. Thus he becomes immersed in this Bhakti Bhav. So this was titled Prema Bhakti because Bhav Bhakti is like, I said that verse, Sudasattva Visheshatma, Prem Suryavams Samyabhak. This Suryavams, this ray of the sun of Prem, is Bhav Bhakti. So that's the stage after Sadhan Bhakti. So if your Sadhan Bhakti is not being focused on Bhav Bhakti, then your Sadhan Bhakti is like zero. This is how the Acharyas have described it. Unless we're in knowledge of Bhav Bhakti, which again I said at the beginning, is also described in the 22nd chapter of Jayavadama, the 9 symptoms of Bhav Bhakti. What's that? That verse? These 9 symptoms. Time. Time. Think of it in a second. Just can't catch that. Verse. Those 9 symptoms of Bhav. Asaktis Tajagunanikte. I'll think of it in a minute. So this is the end of our time. I just wanted to get that verse because it's the 9 symptoms of Bhav, describing, first of all, not wasting a moment of time, and then what's that? Just can't think of it. Shanti avyakta kaladvam, viraktiya manasunyata, ashrabandha samutkanta, namagana sadaruchi. These 9 symptoms of Bhav Bhakti are described. And I just tell you, this is on page 313 if you have this little verse book. These verses are like stepping stones, and if you're practicing properly, you'll remember them. So obviously I'm not practicing properly, so I can't remember them all. So this verse, Shanti avyakta kalatvam virakti manasunyita ashabandha samutkanta namaganasara ashaktis tat gunat kene pritis tat vasate stale. So these are the 9 symptoms of Bhav Bhakti that are described in the 22nd chapter of Jayavadama. So we've just described Bhav Bhakti, which is like the ray of the sun of Prem. And Mahaprabhu is accepting this now. Fully he's accepting this. Because now we've crossed over this Viraja river, so to speak, and we've come to the land of real welfare of the soul's connection with the full spiritual realm. So we're going to continue with Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya Prem. This will be the progression from here. So I know that I've been reading through quite quickly. I know that I've been going through it, and you haven't had a chance to ask any questions. But that's, in one sense, good, because if you'd asked the questions, we wouldn't have reached through the end of the chapter. And we won't keep the whole context of the Samvada flowing. So I hope it's been clear. And if it's not, you all have this book, and you can read over it amongst yourselves. So if it's not clear, that's wonderful. Then you can sit together, and you can read these portions. And if you have any burning questions, then you can send me on my WhatsApp link. So, Raya Ramananda Samvada ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande. So I hope it was all clear. Basically, this bhav, this prem, is residing naturally within the heart of all jivas and needs to be woken up by our sadhana and the mercy of Guru. So I think most of us perhaps are familiar with these terms. We just need to hear them again and refresh each time. So Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhyevacha, patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Go Premanande.